This little girl was disappearing every day for hours. But why? That's what we're going to discover together in today's episode. But before we get into this story, we really appreciate your support to our channel, Story Weaver. What follows is, well, quite unexpected. Let's see. Carl lived with his 5-year-old daughter, Emily. Emily was always a sweet girl who followed the rules, but recently she had been disappearing for hours every day after school. Now, that wasn't a normal behavior from her, so naturally Carl began to worry. He had no idea where she was actually going. So, of course, the first thing he did was he asked Emily about it, of course, but she just said she had something to do at school. Carl then called the school and they told him that Emily was always the last one to leave the schoolyard. Her teacher even said that she looked nervous the day before and even left in a hurry. So Carl did what every worried father would do. He decided to follow her after school to see where his daughter was actually going. Desperate and worried, Carl waited outside the schoolyard waiting for his daughter to come out. When Emily appeared, she sprinted down the street and disappeared around the corner. Carl followed her, barely keeping up as she zigzagged her way through the streets for more than 15 minutes. Carl was getting more and more worried. Eventually, they arrived at the edge of a huge forest where Emily stopped for a moment before disappearing among the trees. Her father followed her to the forest anxiously and found himself in a large open field with only an abandoned house at the end of it that looked like one of those houses you would see in a horror movie. Emily walked towards the house without any fear or anxiety whatsoever, holding a large white plastic bag in her right hand. As Carl approached, he saw somebody waiting on the balcony. Carl hid behind the house to wait for his daughter. After a few minutes, Emily knocked on the door and the mysterious person disappeared from the balcony. Emily walked in and Carl wondered who this person was and what they were doing in the house. Carl found the back door key to the old building and opened the door as quietly as possible. He stepped into the room and heard his daughter talking to the mysterious person who had a female voice. He didn't want to interrupt and get his presence known since he was there, well, uninvited. They seemed busy and Carl heard many footsteps, but not only Emily's and the woman's. Suddenly, Emily opened the door and Carl just managed to disappear around the corner before she ran out of the room. Carl was shocked. There were many children of all ages in the room, some of whom were wearing worn-out and old clothes. The room was filled with toys and games, and the children were playing together happily. The woman was taking care of them and seemed to be their caretaker. After a while, Carl finally decided to confront the woman and everyone else in the house, only to understand that what the woman was doing there was incredibly compassionate and caring. She explained to Carl that she was taking care of these children who had no families and were living on the streets. Carl was in tears when he realized what his daughter had been doing. Emily had been visiting the children every day after school, bringing them food and toys from home. She had been playing with them and keeping them company, knowing that they had no one else to turn to. Emily's actions inspired Carl to start a charity for unprivileged children in their area, and he encourages others to do the same. Emily's kindness had made a difference in the lives of these children, and her actions had shown her father the true meaning of compassion and empathy.